sit here while I pray. Just put yourselves in that place. Travel through space-time continuum. Get into that place. And Jesus saying, sit here while I go up and pray. And he took him with him, Peter, James, and John. These were the three men that he surrounded himself with, his inner circle, right? The ones that he had the most confidence with. He knew that they were with him 100%. Peter had told him, Master, if they will leave you, I will never leave you. I will lay down my life for you. Please remember those words, because they will be very crucial at one point here in Getsemani. And then he took them, and he said to them, my soul is very sorrowful. And as our guide just mentioned, this was the state of mind where Jesus was in. You know, most scholars believe that this is where Jesus actually suffered the most. When he went to the cross, he did it knowing that it was already God's will. He did it willingly. He said, I lay down my life. Nobody takes my life from me. I am laying down my life. But here at Getsemani, for three times, can you hold this for me? 3 times he went on his face and he begged the Father, and he said, Father, if this is your will, it's okay. But if not, please, another way, so that I don't have to take from this cup. 3 times. So this is the state of mind that he's in. Okay? And he said to them, my soul is very sorrowful. When you read that from our Messiah's lips, I am full of sorrow. Even to death. He feels the shadow of death. He is in the valley of death. He is grasping for another, just a chance to speak to the Father and to say, if there is any other possibility. He knows there isn't another possibility, but he's coming to the Father if there is another possibility. And going a little farther, he moves in a little farther. He fell on the ground, like I just said, and he prayed that if it were possible, that hour might pass from him. And he said, look at what the words he said. You know, coming to Israel, we were on a flight directly from Los Angeles to Tel Aviv. And I guess it's the flight that most Jewish families take, because half the plane was filled with children. It was just children everywhere, little children. And there was this family sitting next to us that had maybe like a 1.5-year-old child. And in the middle of the flight, the child starts crying and crying. And in the middle of his cries, he says, Abba. That is Jesus. His words speaking to the Father like a child that needs nourishment. Father, all things are possible for you. And then he asked, remove this cup from me. But listen to this. Yet not what I will, but what you will. And he came and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Now this is incredible, guys. When you read this from the book of Mark, please pay attention to what he's saying. He comes to Simon and he says, Simon, couldn't you just be awake for 1 hour? And listen, this is not for my sake that you will stay awake, Simon. It's not for Jesus to feel good that there's people with him praying. This is for Simon. He says, Simon, could you not watch 1 hour? Remember, he left the other disciples a little bit farther. But he takes these 3 disciples because he wants them to see the sorrow that is in. He wants them to see the state that is in. He wants them to understand the pain. Because there will come a day when they will need to draw from that moment. They will need to know that Jesus himself felt like this, and whenever they would feel like this, they would tell the others, we were there, we saw how he suffered, we saw how he pleaded the Father. But they weren't able to see that because they were too tired. And Jesus said, if you could see this, you will be ready for what's coming, because what's coming?
Persecution.
Peter will deny Jesus. Had he seen that moment, had he been in that moment, there's no possibility that he could have denied the Messiah. Friends, in 2018, my wife was killed by a drunk driver on Sunday after church. When the doctor came and she shared that she had been in the accident and she was now dead, that was my Getsemani moment. I was being pressed. This is the pressing the place of the press, right? Those moments when they come, when your children fall sick, when your parents die, when your family members are told that they have a disease that they will not be able to fight. When you go through those trials, divorce, whatever it might be, you need to remember that Jesus himself was also full of sorrow at some point. But he said these words, not my will be done,
Hallelujah.
but yours.
Yes.
And it's in that moment that we need to understand that he's sovereign above everything. Even the hardest times of life. Even in the hardest moments. He says, if we would watch, so that we would not enter into temptation. Because those moments, Satan will come and he will test you. But if you understand this place, remember this place. For the rest of your life, remember this place. 3 times Jesus went on his face. Bible says that his sweat was mixed with blood. That scientifically, that only happens when extreme pressure is happening within your body, that your cells explode. The capillaries mix blood and sweat. But you have to remember this moment. The lowest moment where he fought. This is where he fought. The cross, that was victory.
Yeah, come on.
This right here. It's in your hardest moments where you make your faith come alive. Where your faith will be tested. It is not in the victory times. It's not when you receive your paycheck. It's not when you retire. It's not when all things are going well, when you get married. No. It's when all hell breaks loose. And you have to come to the Father and say, not my will, but your will be done. Amen. Thank you for letting me share.